Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. Today, I am delighted to have Lisa Lamrock. We've had a discussion about her name. I think I've got the name right. Lisa is an author, a researcher, and an investigator. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good to meet you.
You too. And I love having people that have got different stories to talk about. There's so many. If you Google like the word paranormal, there's so many subcategories. So to get someone like you that talks about something different than what loads of other people normally talk to, it's going to be really cool. So let's crack on. So if you could just give us a little bit of information about yourself before we start giving you some really difficult questions.
Before you slam me? No. Well, I don't know. There's not much. I've been investigating for a while. I guess my 20s. I'm 45-ish now, so a while.
Ish.
Yeah, gotta add the ish in there. Nurse, mom, have a little dog, little tiny dog. I don't know. Not much. I don't know. I work, eat, sleep. Same thing on repeat. But I do love investigating all the time. And like you said, so going back, I guess my first kind of experience was I was young. I was under 9. I was trying to think how old I was. I was probably like 4 or 5 and seeing siblings that I didn't know existed. And then that just kind of shot me in that direction. So my father had children prior to me. I didn't know about. I just didn't know they existed. That we weren't told about this.
Okay.
They died in a house fire when I was
little. Wow.
And before my 2 siblings were born. And I would see them playing in the house as a little one, me and my brother both, actually. And it wasn't until some years later I found out, like, I had siblings, and it's like, oh, okay, like, that makes sense now. And then, I just kind of suppressed that. And then it was like years later that, a specific group started kind of coming to the forefront, and everybody was like, oh, okay, like, this isn't such a crazy thing. And then I started kind of going into it, and you start with the bigger groups and work your way down to your own group and stuff.
So this brings me nicely into my first question. So if you were seeing your deceased siblings when you were young, at what point did you realize that what you were seeing wasn't of this world, so to speak?
Well, it was weird because I would lay like in my parents' bed, and like I'd hide under the covers. I'd see them going up and down the halls and in and out of the bedroom. And it was 2 boys and a girl, which is, exactly what they were. And I didn't, at the time, I don't know. I don't know how I even made sense of that, but I didn't tell anybody except my brother at the time. And of course he was like, yeah, I see it too. I see him too. And then it was just like, you don't talk about it. So it gets left alone. And then, as I started investigating with the bigger groups is when I first came across the topic of doppelgangers. I really had never even heard of it before. I was in my 20s, and it was a house out in Gainesville, up near North Texas, where I was investigating. And they had this picture of this doppelganger where, they had taken the picture. The person was in the picture, the person was in the door frame, but they weren't really in the door frame at the time the picture was taken. They were downstairs and not even present. So it's, they're like, that was kind of the running thing. Everybody was like, wow, look at this. I mean, this is like a true like doppelganger. And then you start looking it up and researching it, and you're like, okay. And then it was years later, I was thinking about writing something, and I did a podcast on different types of apparitions. And the one that I was discussing was doppelgangers. And then I was like, okay, I gotta put something down. I gotta start looking into this more. And that kind of spearheaded the book and got things moving in that direction.
Yes, already I'm kind of like, okay, I'm speechless now already. This is not good for me to be speechless this early into the podcast. It doesn't normally happen. So when you started getting that interest, and for the benefit of the people that are listening, can you give me a textbook definition of what a doppelganger is, please?
Well, see, everybody has their own view on that, their own, if you look at the old German definition, obviously it's a walking double. But some people see it as this fleeting image that you just kind of you see, and you may or may not have interaction, but you're not really communicating. Some people see it as like a living, breathing person that you're hanging out with, talking to, having a beer with, So everybody has a different view on that, opinion on that. Mine is more the fleeting image, just on the different cases that I've, different people I've talked to with their experiences. And everybody's going to have a different take on that. But they have done research on, which I touch in on the book. I don't know if you got to read about Tim Spector, one of the guys that did the research on the twin strangers. So everybody supposedly has up to like 7 twin strangers, that they, look just like you. You do the 2D, 3D imaging. The 2D is going to be up to 95%, the same. And 3D, of course, it knocks it down a little bit. But even with the 2D, you get above 90%. That's the same as a like true twin that you're born with. So, and he found these couples that were having the same like hobbies, the same jobs, the same appetite, the same everything in their living situation. So a lot of people, are they just seeing their twin stranger or someone else's twin stranger? And that's not even factoring in, the situation. And, like one of the cases was on a graveyard, a Native American graveyard. Well, is that, there's other factors there, which I get into the book.
Yeah. So if I ever see my twin stranger, I'm going to send him to my work and I'm going to take a few days off.
Right.
I think that would be absolutely ideal.
I got something for you to do. Hey, he should have the same interest, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when was it in your life that you started to get the interest in paranormal investigation and then join your first group?
It was late 20s, probably mid to late 20s. I was wrapping up college, and I just started joining larger groups, and that's when I ran into that first case of doppelgangers, and then eventually went into a smaller group of 3-4 people, and then eventually led to my own group. But then with moving, you kind of things move, you move around, and I haven't been in a group in several years now, but just attending events. Wrote that book, and that's it. I was doing residential cases and quit that. I was more investigating more for myself and, with some partners, some friends, other investigators. But, the residential cases get a little dangerous. I had a guy that, pulled out a gun, a schizophrenic. That was my last residential case.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give up now. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, he was doing a lot of satanic worshiping, and I had this priest call me out, and he's like, I want y'all to investigate before I do anything further. And there was books flying off the shelf. There was no doubt there was stuff going on, but this guy was not taking his medicine, and you're just going to end up back in the same situation. And then when that happened, I was like, I'm not coming back. I'm good. I'm good. To that priest, I was like, if you go back out there, that's your business. But washing my hands.
The thing is, when a priest asks you to go to a property, that's when you've got problems, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, okay, I think you probably need an exorcist or somebody.
Yeah. That's what he was going to do, and I was just like, I'm not having any part of this.
Yeah.
Not with this. This guy's too dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. You got to think about your safety. So, were there any significant cases that you investigated that like always stick in your mind?
Yeah, I think Yorktown Memorial is probably one of the top ones for me. It's an old hospital that was run by nuns. The doctors, it was out in the middle of nowhere. It's in South Texas. It's a wonderful place to investigate. Love the place. Really hard to get into. The doctors practiced into their late 90s because there wasn't that many in the area. So there was a lot of deaths associated with that. Doctor errors, just with age. So there was a lot of deaths there. And then there was like a reported murder there as well. And it has a lot of activity. And there were little areas set up where people were doing negative worshiping there. You can see just where there was, holes in the facility where they were breaking in and getting in and doing stuff they shouldn't. So when I went the last time, the energy is just through the roof. I can tell you, like, every battery we had died. Like, you would plug in your flashlights, dead. We had to go outside to plug them in and then come back in. We went through 3 sets in the flashlight. The cameras all dead. I had a friend that went there to investigate. Car battery dead. We just everything just dead, and it scratching like crazy. They scratch at that place. I got scratched. 2 other investigators got scratched. 3 of us, 3 out of 5 of us during that visit. So it's pretty active, very active.
Yeah.
You feel like they're just all over you.
And is that still active to this day?
Yeah, you can still investigate there. And I think, I'm trying to think what year I went. It was a few years ago, but I don't see it changing any. I've been a few times and it's not been any different.
Yeah, because it's interesting that you mention about scratches, because when you speak to people that are not as knowledgeable about the paranormal as, let's say you and I, for example, and they automatically think that when they get scratched, it's of a malevolent energy.
Yeah.
But the way that I always look at things as well is, if I try to speak to you and to call to you and you're not hearing me because I'm a spirit,
Yeah.
the next logical action for me is to reach out to you to try to go, hi, Lisa,
Right.
Lisa, I'm here. And that could actually involve physical contact. So just because somebody's got scratched, I don't always think it's malevolent. It could just be
I'm
the
trying
next
to
step.
get attention.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, you can feel it with the energy. I mean, you just feel like they are literally all over you. I mean, I had a friend there at one of the investigations that was a meeting. He's like, Lisa, come over here. Like there was some guy like rubbing my head. He's like, he's rubbing your head. Like, come over here, not over there. But, it also being run by nuns, supposedly they say that, they're against tattoos. And that's one thing that just fires them up. And like my friend who was scratched across he had a gay pride tattoo and, scratches right across it. Now, coincidence? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. And that's the difficult thing to try and prove.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that being involved with the paranormal environment, it's all about trying to prove something.
Mm-hmm.
I recently had an incident in New York State where I'm laid in bed, something sat on the bed, and then I opened my eyes. I'd been in bed like 2 minutes and I saw something white go past. But that's a personal experience for me.
Right.
You weren't there, so you don't know what I saw, and I can't tell anybody else what I saw because I'm the only one that saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very difficult for people to.
And I kind of love those, though. I mean, yeah, no, we're trying to help each other out and gain research and everything at the same time. I mean, personal experiences for me, I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
100%.
for me, growth for me, you know.
Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into your book. And I've got a case, Doppelganger or not, case by case. So what made you decide to write this book?
Yeah, I mean the topic, the fact that like when I was researching it, you just don't find a lot on the topic. I mean, just like you said, some of these topics people don't really hit on it. I'm like, I want to figure out more. Like, I may not find a ton, but let me see how many people have experienced this and put it to paper. I mean, it doesn't have to be some huge, massive thing, or just how many cases can I get that are seem like trustworthy, honest people. And, when I put it out there, I didn't say, hey, I'm going to write a book who has cases. I just said, hey, I'm interested in people that have had these cases, and kind of start gathering the information, and then said, hey, would you be okay if I composed the book? I need a release signed, and went about it that way. That way there was not this preconceived notion that, if I tell her my information, I'm going to be in a book. And I mean, I went from people across the whole U.S. to Scotland. I mean, everywhere as far as stories and people. It wasn't just a U.S. thing. I mean, young, old, male, female, left-handed, right-handed. I mean, I checked everything. What do you do for your career? I mean, looked at all, because I wanted to see commonalities too. Is there any kind of commonalities? But yeah, I mean,
one thing that I've also looked into is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more of an expert than what I am, because you've written a book on it and I haven't. But a doppelganger does not have to be an entity per se. It can just be like a like an EVP, or it can just be like a voice that you hear. Yeah, they can duplicate your voice. Is that, would I be right in saying that?
I've never had that experience. I've not had a case like that. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'd never even thought about that. I mean, I've looked at pets, obviously, pets, people. Is it fleeting, not fleeting? But voices, I've never heard anybody say, hey, there was a recording that sounded like me. That's, my doppelganger. But I mean, I don't see why you couldn't,
So, am I starting giving you information for book 2?
Yeah.
There we go. So let's start it together.
I have a completely different topic. It's that I'm really wanting to do, but it takes a lot with these books. I mean, that one, it was over 2 years. You just have to be in the mood, and you can't just, I don't know. I can't just sit there and just write. But cell memory in transplant patients, and how that memory, as far as, you may gain a heart or something from somebody, and all of a sudden you have the cravings that they had when they were living,
Oh man, you've got me thinking about that now.
Yeah.
Because
it's just very interesting to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, I was thinking, okay, multiple cases, and so he's like, nah, just focus on one case, one good solid case. But I want both sides, both families, in on it. So it's a lot. I'm like, do I want to take that on? Not take that on? Yeah, that would be the next one, though. If
that would be really cool, to be fair.
And then you have the medical, the HIPAA issues here, where privacy issues, and
yeah,
that makes it difficult.
Okay, so I know that your book involves approximately 19 to 20 cases.
Yeah.
Are there any that really stand out to you that you want to talk about tonight?
Touching on like that first one, Tim Shepard, being in the graveyard. I mean, there is a chapter where I list a bunch of other things that could be. Like in his case, he was in the Native American graveyard. Well, is it a skinwalker? Is it somebody just shaping themselves? And that was somebody following them around the graveyard. It wasn't like a fleeting image. So, I mean, you got to look at things like that. I mean, it's really hard to say. It's like, it gets your mind going in different directions. Chapter 2 was James Yak. He was a bus, going to get on a bus, and I mean, the person was wearing the same clothing, everything. He had glass, if I recall correctly, he had glasses on, and he didn't get glasses till years later. Huh. And so I was like, okay, is this like some kind of time warp kind of thing? Like it was, I mean, identical. So, I mean, there's just so many like variants there. You're like, it makes your mind go crazy. Now,
go
ahead.
Carry on.
Star in chapter 3, Star was actually at Yorktown when she saw her doppelganger, Yorktown Memorial Hospital, with me, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when you're interviewing these people, how do you differentiate between what they're saying is absolute gospel compared to they may be sort of like, well, if I tell her this and then I make this bit up, yeah, do you have like a technique that you can say, well, I'm going to include this part of the story, but I'm not going to include that because I've got a little bit of doubt about this kind of...
Yeah, that's a hard one because you don't know. I mean,
yeah,
that's why I started with like, I'm researching this. I kind of want to know your stories. Didn't mention the book until I got all these different stories, then brought that up so that there's not that, okay, I just want to get in this book or whatever, so that's the only technique or thing that I did. I mean, you kind of have to, and then some of these people I do know, as far as like Star, I know she's an old law enforcement, their credibility, okay, yeah, she's not going to be making this up. And like, I was there when that one happened, but I mean, some of these you don't know. Yeah. And it turns out, I don't know if you saw in the book, there was 2 people that knew each other and didn't know they were in the book. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, I was reading a few cases, but yeah please enlighten me. Yeah.
So it turned out that 2 of them knew each other, and one of them saw it because it involved the other person, and both of them wanted to be confidential. Oh, let me tell you, they were not happy. They wanted to know who each other was, and I'm like, y'all asked for confidentiality. consents are signed. I'm sorry, I'm not going to release that information. But yeah, two of them actually didn't know of each other. There was some, you'll notice it. I mean, there's only like 3 people that didn't want their name released because of, obvious reasons. But yeah,
that's crazy.
that was interesting.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to completely get all these stories, and then what? Yeah, because obviously you said that you didn't tell anybody that you were going to write a book.
Oh yeah.
So how long did it take you to collate all this information?
No, it took probably over a year just to start collecting the stories along, and then start composing it, and then getting permission, and then consents. I mean, it took a year just for consents, just to get a simple a simple form signed and sent back. I mean, that took forever. I mean, I was sending prepaid envelopes and still taking forever. So yeah, that just is what it is, I'm sure. And when you're doing it with 20 people, or however many, I don't remember how many were in this thing here. But yeah, I mean, about 16, 17, 18 people. I don't know, whatever it was. It's a lot. It's enough to get, 1 or 2 people to return a consent form, but you do that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So did you find that there was a similarity between multiple stories of people that didn't even know each other, or like with regard to a doppelganger, or was each case completely individual apart from the 2 that knew each other?
Yeah, there was a few zodiac signs that were prominent. It was, let me look because I don't remember off the top of my head. It was Virgo. We had 4 Virgos and 4 Tauruses. That's 8 out of the 8 of cases. So that was a little bit more prominent. Because one thing I looked at with that was, how they say like killers, are a specific zodiac sign. Like, is there any correlation? So I was like, let me check that out. Check out everybody's zodiac sign, and I don't know about being killers, but these people, and then and then are they right-handed, left-handed, and then what side of the brain is used and stuff, instruments, that kind of stuff. I just have noted also, the places that were noted to have huge cases of doppelgangers being Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Kentucky there, and Trans-Allegheny in West Virginia. Another commonality was near-death experiences. A lot of these people had near-death experiences.
Okay, spill the beans. You're intrigued now.
Well, it's funny because I had a friend that was actually going to start writing on that topic. And I don't know if they ever did or not, but, they say that near-death experiences open you up,
Yeah. Well, I did interview a guy, and I released the episode about a month ago, who was actually on the TV show Project Afterlife, and he was actually interviewing people that had near-death experiences, people that died in car wrecks and then came back after like 20 minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you can kind of understand that after somebody has something like that, they come back for a reason, whatever that reason is. So their life could then become spiritual, if you like.
Yeah.
So for these things to actually happen, then it would kind of like add up and make sense. That kind of.
Absolutely. And as far as the right hand, left hand, it's hard to say because, right-handed is more prominent, but 13 of the people were right-handed out of the, 18 cases or whatever. So all but like 5. So I don't know if there's any correlation there, but it was just worth, noting, like just another factor in there. And, I asked them all about smells. Did they have any weird smells during these situations? Was there any rotten smells, egg smell, anything different or out of the ordinary? There wasn't. And, people always have that misconception that it's a bad omen. Well, did anything happen with any of these people? No, none of them. There were no deaths. There was nothing that followed. There was nothing. There was only one person, and he that was a self-doing kind of thing. Had nothing to do with anything. But no, out of all the cases, there was no bad. There's not a bad omen.
Yeah, and that kind of led, and you've kind of answered my next question, where was there any negative experiences compared to good experiences? But you've kind of just answered that.
Yeah. No, not at all. Yeah.
So I noticed that there's a couple of them, or one in particular, called Warren, Debbie Mitchell Warren. Any relation to the Warrens from the investigators? Do you know? Did you actually look into
Oh,
that at all? Case Chapter 8, case of Debbie Mitchell Warren. I was just curious to see if she's related to the Warrens, the investigators.
no, she's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, Warren's what? Yeah. No, she's not.
Yeah. that'd have been
I'm sure
pretty.
I love that, but no.
Yeah. So, was most of your investigating or research related to twin strangers or actual doppelganger spirits?
To me, they were all more either something else going on or a doppelganger type case. I don't know. There was one that could have been more like a twin stranger. Like there was one where he was at a bar having a drink, literally, and that it was like their twin stranger that they were having a drink with and hung out with and stuff. And like, okay, that could have been. I mean, it was a living, breathing person. So there was a case or two where I'm like, okay, that I could see where that would be just a twin stranger. But otherwise, I mean, is it a PK thing? Is it a skinwalker thing? Is it a crisis apparition? I mean, there's just a variety of options there. I don't think all of them were true doppelgangers. I think the most true one, in my opinion, would have been Stars. Just, and I guess part of that is having been there and knowing who all was in that building and that she had seen him and he wasn't there. He was down in a different area. And so knowing, for me, I mean, it's like, okay, well, what else could it have been? It wasn't native territory. It wasn't I don't think it was a deja vu thing. It wasn't a near death thing. I don't think it was a time warp. I mean, just kind of ruling out like with the situation, looking at everything.
Yeah. So, did you actually look at? I know you mentioned a time warp or time travel, but you have time slips as well.
Yeah.
So, did you actually look into that aspect of it?
I don't think I did as far as time slips. I think I only did just like time warp travel kind of, and of course demons, of course. You got to throw that in there.
Oh yeah.
Psychic projection, attention. I added attention seeking. You got to add that.
Oh, for sure.
Got to add that in there.
Yeah.
But no, I did not.
So, was there also any similarities between location, like whether it was America or UK or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're higher. Like I mentioned, Trans-Allegheny and Waverly, and I don't know if that's because there was more activity there, larger locations, and all these deaths, and that's why we're seeing more doppelgangers. I don't know. I don't know why certain locations just have these large numbers.
And yeah, it's weird because and I mentioned about the voicing earlier, and the only reason why I mentioned that, I was watching a show the other night, and it was Expedition X with Josh Gates.
Yeah, love.
And two of them were about a quarter of a mile away from the third. He called out, and he heard the girl respond to him, and there was a history of doppelgangers in that area. And when they played the recording back, the voice sounded exactly like hers, but she was busy puking up about a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of why I mentioned that. So,
and I wonder, sometimes when you're investigating a place, you get these whispers and these EVPs it's almost like they're mimicking or mocking or copying you, I wonder if it's something just like that even.
See, I've got your brain thinking now, haven't I? With all these different.
Yeah.
So, are you glad you're talking to me now?
We could just troubleshoot this all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I haven't been working today. I've been trying to figure out really difficult questions to ask you.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
we can pass on difficult.
I haven't finished yet.
Oh no.
what chapter 17, Holly Aldridge, you mentioned that she's a Wiccan. So did any of the other cases have any kind of background like Wiccan or anything like that you can connect?
Yeah. No, I mean, half of them were investigators. I mean, so obviously they're going to have their hands and stuff. I don't think any of them were shamans. As far as Wiccan, it would have just been her. A lot of them were said, they were sensitive, empathic, but that was really it. Yeah, but I just want to make sure I had a variety. But yeah, I definitely asked them backgrounds on all that.
What about people that have
stuff?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What about people that have medium abilities? Were any?
No, none of them just straight said, I'm a psychic medium or have history that I'm aware of. They just felt empathic, like, hey, I feel things, see things, kind of, like.
I know it's quite common for people to, when they go to an investigation, they can go into a room and the room feels heavy,
Yeah.
or they sense something. So when people are experiencing these doppelgangers, was there any similarities of the sensations that they were feeling?
Not like a specific sensation that they all had in common. Just being freaked out, I think, was probably the top one. Like one of them, walked in and saw the mother, I believe it was, if I recall correctly, was washing dishes, and they said they just looked like hell, like death, and walked on past, like, okay, whatever, and gonna keep on going and get past the laundry room, and she's in there doing laundry, and then turned around and not at the kitchen sink anymore. So some were just really freaked out by their experiences, understandably so.
Yeah, for sure.
But not any other specific sensation.
So, what is your personal belief? Like, yeah, if I come up to you and say, I've just seen my wife in the kitchen, but then I went down into the basement and she's doing the laundry. Sort of like, what's your personal thoughts on what could be happening? Obviously you've done research into doppelgangers,
that sounds like a clear-cut doppelganger case. Like,
yeah,
the sink and the other, two different places, and there wasn't really a conversation carried on, but there was a full figure apparition. To me, it sounds clear-cut. I couldn't really think of any other reason he would see that, or nothing else really seems to fit. But I'm not an expert. I'm just gathering the information and trying to make sense of it.
You know more than me, so you are an expert. I'm just going to leave it there. Did reincarnation come into this at all? I know you mentioned near-death experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I did list that as one of the possibilities. Reincarnation is just such a wild thing, and how does that play into it, if anything? And it's wild. You get these kids that they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember this whole previous life," and they can go into details and remember the city and everything, and they're like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And how can you dispute that? You really can't. No kid's going to come up with all this information.
No.
But
one of my favorite ones is a 3-year-old that was reenacting the life of a pilot in World War II, and his parents were really religious. And they were trying to make a religious approach at what it was. And in the end, they found out that where this guy was a pilot on a warship, and they went to the warship, and he's actually naming people. And he's never met them.
So this kid just knew the name of the ship and the name of everything, and they just
they're like, how?
Yeah. There's just no.
So let's touch on the D word, demonic. Do you think there's demonic connections between what's happening and doppelgangers?
I don't think there's a connection at all. I think sometimes, there could be a mistaken case, and it could be something demonic, mimicking, mocking, whatever. But I think those are far and few in between anyways, myself.
Yeah.
I don't believe in many of those cases. I think it's just, pissed off person or whatever. But, I don't think there's any correlation at all.
Yeah, because I love it how people, like like to use the D word far too often, and you do realize that like 1% is kind of real blood. And then some of the cases in the past where the family or the clergy have been done for like neglect of the individual and stuff like that. There was a case in Europe.
There's only one case that I've ever suspected, and that would have been the schizophrenic that was doing satanic worshiping because he was actively doing everything possible to worship the devil. You know what I mean? And not taking his meds and all this. And there was activity. I don't know if it was like a PK kind of thing or if it was negative, because I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. I went one day and I was like, yeah. But so that's a case where I'm like, okay, that could have been. But I don't have enough to know for sure.
So, funnily enough, I did do a small course online on demonology, just because. And one thing that I found was really interesting is when you're talking to a schizophrenic, they hear voices from both sides. Whereas if it's a suspected demonic, you only hear voices from one side. It's like the devil and the angel kind of thing on your shoulders, which I thought that was very interesting.
Oh, there's a really good movie. I'll have to find it and send it to you about a schizophrenic. Oh, gosh, somebody turned me on to it. And you see him actively fighting his good and his bad, and he's, throwing things.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Crazy.
Okay. I know you've made some points in this book and you've kind of put explanations. And this one, I can't wait for you to answer this one. Multidimensional universe. What do you how do you think that's connected?
I struggle with that one because it's like, they say there's these different dimensions and, I don't know how I feel about it, but I did list it. It's like, with astral travel too, people say, yeah, you're going to this other dimension. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Let's hear your expertise.
Well, thanks. Put me on the spot. You remember, I'm asking you the questions, okay? That's a very good question because, a lot of people go, is our universe just like a dot on somebody's nail and all this kind of stuff? Do multidimensional universes exist? It would explain some things, like it would explain doppelgangers, if you think about it from a scientific point of view. And the fact that some people are so naive to think that we are the only living spirits on one little ball in one universe when you've got so many different universes. You can start talking about UFOs and all that kind of stuff. So dimensional, it's a possibility, but like you say, if you're a decent researcher, you've got to get your evidence. You just can't go, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to go with that.
Yeah that's one that's really hard to prove or disprove.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that it's a possibility, but
and that's the fun thing about doing what we do.
What's that? I'm gonna brain fart here, but the files, the files that you can go up that store when you meditate.
Oh yeah. Come on, Lisa. Come on.
I know. Think. It's like it starts with an A. I keep want to say Akashi record, and I do believe in that. But I mean, so and that's kind of similar,
But I think something like what we're discussing tonight. You start with something like this, and then it just opens up a whole can of worms, and you can just go into it could be this, could be this, could be this, could be this, and you just can't get an answer. Okay, so let's talk about a few famous people. I know you mentioned Abraham Lincoln at the beginning, so let's kind of go into him and what experience he had.
Yeah, I mean he's a cool one. I mean I like him. I've always liked Abraham though. Back when you're in school and you learn about presidents.
I'm from England. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
We did kings and queens instead.
Honest Abe is what they called him. Good old Honest Abe. Yeah, I mean, he said he saw his own doppelganger, and he was laying down, looked in a mirror, and then he went running to he saw two faces, and they say that he ran to grab his wife and tell her, and by the time he got back, it was gone. But there was a lot of report about her doing stuff in the White House there. Let me see what I got noted here. It's been a hot second. So I know he saw it a second time too. He told a close friend, and his friend had documented it in a journal. But what was it? His wife, I think she was doing Ouija boards or something in the White House.
Yeah, that probably doesn't help.
Abraham Lincoln's wife. So it wasn't just him. His wife was doing stuff too. I don't know if it'll come up easily or not, but I remember that.
Probably not. Just because you need it to, it won't. You know that.
Yeah,
that's what technology is all about.
I know. I love it.
Okay, so let's come back to him if you can find something, but somebody closer to home for me. Queen Elizabeth I.
Yeah, we can go with her. She was said to be level-headed and charismatic. Can't talk tonight. Yeah, but she said seen hers sprawled out, her doppelganger in her bed like a corpse. She's described it. So that's quite interesting. Some of these people I don't know. There's like a Sir Frederick Carn Roche. He's in the British Parliament. I don't know all these people. You may know him. He's from 1906.
Bit before my time, but thanks.
Yeah, right.
What are you trying to say?
Well, Catherine the Great is before your time, but she also
I went to school with her. What are you talking about?
Right. She was reportedly told by servants that she was seen sitting on the throne when she was laying in her bed by several people, several servants in her case.
You do realise that the throne in the UK means toilet. So,
you mean what?
It means toilet. You do realise, like, I'm going to sit on the throne. It means.
Oh gosh, it's not that kind of throne, huh?
Okay,
you guys and y'all's words.
We like twisting words. It's what we do.
You do. And then, of course, pet doppelgangers. I mean, just like voices, you're like, well, what about voices? Well, and it stands to reason there could be pet ones too. There was people reporting to see cats and cat doppelgangers. So I guess anything's possible.
Yeah, it's like I said. Yeah, it just opens up a whole big can of worms. To be fair, doesn't it?
Now you got me thinking about the whole voice thing, though. Now I'm like, I wonder how many cases there are with that.
I think there's more than what you actually realise.
Probably so. Yeah.
Because even with like modern day communication, radios, walkie-talkies, cell phones, stuff like that, I think. But trying to prove that you heard it, and trying to prove that it sounded like an individual's voice, that's something that you've really got to try and work out.
On EVP though, or on a recording, that's gold. But then to prove that it's not that person, if you've got witnesses around.
Yeah. So we are coming towards the end of it, and I'm like, some of the subjects that we've spoken about, it really does get your mind thinking about what actually is a doppelganger.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the Switzerland study.
Ooh, Switzerland.
Without looking at your book.
Yeah, you're gonna make me refresh my memory here. No, there was some scientists back in 2006. They were using some kind of electrical stimulation, temporal parietal lobe of the brain, and it has to do with schizophrenics. Oh, where I'm getting notifications here, and so they were doing that stimulation to see if they can reproduce them seeing and feeling their double. So they're saying it has to do with the part of the brain. So that one, I don't recall the entire thing. Oh, Speaking of which, Dr. Chuck Kennedy, he was doing studies on with EEGs. Are you familiar with that? That has to do with the brain as well and the paranormal and the same correlation. So he's a good one to look up. He's a medium. He actually recently got it, so. But he's listed in that same Switzerland study down further.
Right. Yeah, that'd be interesting to actually realize, like when you're interviewing these people, as if you can have them attached to like an EEG or a lie detector, even to find out what's really going on. Because with an EEG, you might find.
So he took people, hooked them up to the EEG, and then took them on investigations and had them investigate and see what their brain was mapping and doing, and did that with very prominent mediums. He did it with a lot of people, but known mediums as well. And at the same time, he was checking like their EKG, their blood sugars. He saw blood sugars dipping during these periods. Yeah. So he was seeing different correlations. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't recall all of the 18 Switzerland study. That's a good one to look up, as well as that twin stranger one at the beginning of the book. I don't remember all the details. It's been a minute since I've looked at that. But I do remember on the twin stranger one, not just the 2D and the 3D, but they were doing DNA stuff. And I remember that being interesting. I don't remember the details of that, but I remember thinking that's something I didn't put in the book because I didn't want to spill everything into the book. But it's definitely worth going.
You've always got to leave yourself space for a book 2, just in case.
Yeah, book 2 with the DNA and the voices.
Yeah. And then just put Lee said, and like just in brackets, so I get a name in your book.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah. So, one final question. I know we've kind of touched on it already, but if you could categorically point to one single cause that causes doppelgangers, I know we've spoken about a few different causes, what would be your most like prominent cause to go to?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure, because there's all these different situations and scenarios that they're happening in. I mean, yeah, you got the commonalities of, being right-handed and certain signs that are seeing it, but why is it occurring in those situations? Is it an interdimensional thing where they're coming from that? I don't know. I'm not sure the exact cause.
Yeah, because I'm just going to finish with one point. You mentioned about all these different things and how it could affect the mind. And I know you've got a medical background. So have I. I was a paramedic for 13 years.
That's right.
And when I went to a walk-in centre, we got a guy that had a head injury. And he was a known epileptic. So the nursing staff are going, oh, he's had an epileptic seizure. He's just coming round, blah, blah, blah. So when I get him in the ambulance and I start talking to him, he went, I didn't have an epileptic seizure. Oh, it's all like, well, it says here that you did. He goes, no, I didn't. I went, well, how could you be so sure? He went, I didn't see my guide, a guy dressed in top hat and tails. Whenever I see him, I know I'm going to have a seizure. So I lay down, I let my seizure happen, and then I recover. He says, but for this one, I don't know what happened. It wasn't a seizure, and I wasn't post-ictal. And it's like, how am I going to explain that to the nurses at the hospital?
This one wasn't a seizure. You didn't see a spirit guide at this one.
Yeah, exactly. So, the brain can and does do things that we don't understand.
Right.
So how much of this is physical existence compared to something that your brain is forming in front of you that you think is a replica of yourself or somebody that you know?
Yeah. How much is a physical apparition versus in the head?
Exactly.
Psychological.
So that's something really really finishing with something that you can ponder on now.
Oh, absolutely. Now you're going to have me going crazy all night thinking on this.
Yeah. So when you don't sleep tonight,
I'll be thanking you. I'll be like, you, Lee.
Yeah. So I'll be getting all these messages in the morning, just like you
It
arse,
could be this.
You
It
kept me
could be
awake all night. Yeah, Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We've had some really good like examples of what a doppelganger can be. I've put your brain at work, which I think is absolutely lovely. Yay!
Cannot be a twin stranger.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well,
That
I don't
I
think you
know.
and
Other
I
than
don't think
that,
you and I will be.
it's a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I are never going to be twin strangers. I'm just saying. Just. But again, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was good talking to you. Thanks.
When you write your second book, you'll have to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.